Welcome to this deep dive explainer on the neuroscience of sleep. You know, sleep really is the absolute foundational pillar of our cellular survival, especially in our hyperstimulated modern world. Today, we're exploring the very architecture of rest. We're going to look way past the basic advice you've heard a million times and examine how your micro-mental health, your gut microbiome, your daily cognitive performance, and even lifelong healthy aging are all literally inexorably tied to what happens the second you close your eyes. We'll explore the foundational science of our internal clocks, decode the chemistry of sleep saboteurs, and ultimately, we're going to learn exactly how to engineer a truly premium recovery protocol.
So we live in an era of digital overload, chronic stress, and totally fractured attention. And because of this, we face a really fascinating, kind of baffling modern contradiction. Why on earth do we stay up late when we are already completely exhausted? Seriously, think about it. Your brain is begging for recovery, your body is totally depleted, and yet, there you are, scrolling through your phone at 1 in the morning. You're being hijacked by a dopamine system that's just desperately seeking one last hit of stimulation. We are actively avoiding the exact rest our physiological systems desperately need to repair themselves from the onslaught of daily chronic stress.
Okay, let's dive into this. The psychological root of this behavior is actually a formally recognized phenomenon. It's called revenge bedtime procrastination. It's basically the act of sacrificing your sleep for just a tiny sliver of personal autonomy. When our daytime hours are totally consumed by demanding work environments, back-to-back tasks, and relentless external pressures, our micro-mental health really takes a hit. We experience severe attention fragmentation, and frankly, we feel a profound loss of control over our own lives. So, in response, our brains seek revenge. We do this through dopamine-fueled late-night screen time. We routinely trade our biological resilience just to reclaim a few quiet hours that actually feel entirely like our own. Section 1. Your internal master clock. To really understand why trading sleep for screen time is so incredibly biologically expensive, we've got to look at the foundational science of our bodies. Sleep is not just some passive state where you simply power down like a laptop. No, it's a highly engineered, active state of intense physiological repair, and it operates on a very strict schedule. Deep within your brain lies the ultimate conductor of this entire biological symphony. It's called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN for short. This tiny, truly remarkable cluster of about 20,000 cells in the hypothalamus acts as your master circadian pacemaker. It's wildly sensitive to environmental light cues, and it uses them to regulate your entire endocrine system. It synchronizes absolutely everything across a 24-hour cycle, commanding the critical cortisol melatonin seesaw, dictating metabolic digestion, and strictly controlling exactly when you fall asleep. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens when we throw that delicate master clock out of sync. Let's say you're waking up at 6 a.m. on a weekday, right? But then you sleep in until 9:30 a.m. on the weekend. This creates a really disruptive phenomenon known as social jet lag. When you shift your wake-up time by more than 2 hours on weekends, you severely disrupt that SCN we just talked about. In fact, research shows this inconsistency actually doubles your risk of developing metabolic syndrome. That's huge. This isn't just about feeling a little groggy on a Monday morning, it's about insulin resistance and disrupted metabolic processing, which literally act as catalysts for accelerated cellular aging. But when your master clock is perfectly aligned, your sleep architecture performs absolute miracles. A healthy night of rest is sliced into distinct phases. You've got about 60% light sleep, 25% REM sleep, and 15% deep sleep. Now, during REM sleep, your brain is actively processing emotions, consolidating memory, and fostering neuroplasticity. Preserving these REM slices is exactly how we maintain cognitive endurance and the emotional resilience needed for deep work the very next day. But during that 15% deep sleep phase, something truly incredible happens. Your brain engages what's called the glymphatic system. It acts like a power washer, actively clearing away toxic metabolic waste, and that includes the very proteins linked to Alzheimer's disease. Deep sleep is literal, physical neuropreservation. Section 2. Chemical and dietary sleep saboteurs. So what happens when our modern lifestyle choices interrupt this precise biological machinery? Well, our health systems are intimately interconnected, meaning what we consume during the day physically alters our neurochemistry and dismantles our carefully orchestrated circadian rhythms at night. Now, what's really interesting here is the pharmacological timelines of our favorite vices. Let's break it down. Caffeine operates as an adenosine receptor antagonist, which is just a fancy way of saying it literally blocks your brain's natural signals of fatigue. And with a half-life of 5 to 6 hours, that mid-afternoon coffee is absolutely still running through your system at bedtime. Then there's alcohol. It depresses the central nervous system initially, sure, but it creates a massive metabolic rebound that utterly destroys your REM sleep. Nicotine acts as a potent stimulant, heavily delaying sleep onset. And late-night sugar? That profoundly impacts your gut-brain axis. It spikes your insulin and systemic inflammation, throws your microbiome out of whack, and completely pulls you out of restorative deep sleep.
And the danger really compounds when these saboteurs mix. This leads to a highly destructive cycle known as the bidirectional masking effect. Basically, people often consume alcohol in the evening to combat the lingering, jittery stimulation of their daytime caffeine. The sedative temporarily masks the stimulant, and the stimulant obscures the depressant. It's a vicious cycle. This pattern of self-medication severely fragments your sleep architecture, leading to these tiny micro-arousals and massive midnight awakenings. And connecting this right back to micro-mental health. Waking up with a brain that hasn't successfully cleared its metabolic waste leads directly to daytime anxiety, awful brain fog, and a severely compromised capacity to handle your daily stressors.
Section 3. The ideal sleep environment. To protect our biology from all these disruptions, we have to deliberately engineer our physical space. Your bedroom cannot just be this multi-purpose hangout room. It must be a somatosensory sanctuary strictly dedicated to recovery. The very first environmental lever we can pull here is thermoregulation. The absolute ideal temperature range for your bedroom is right between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit. Here's why. In order for your brain to initiate and actually sustain deep sleep, your core body temperature literally needs to drop. This biological prerequisite interacts directly with our circadian biology to trigger the release of sleep-onset hormonal cascades. It's the ultimate signal to your metabolism that it is officially time to slow down.
Next up is your visual environment. Did you know that simply utilizing blackout curtains can improve your overall sleep quality by up to 22%? It's true. And the reasoning is rooted deeply in our evolutionary biology. The short wavelength blue light pouring in from street lamps, digital clocks, and our screens literally tricks your brain into thinking it is the midday sun. No joke. This evolutionary mismatch completely halts your recovery mechanisms and suppresses your brain's natural melatonin production by up to 50%. Absolute pitch black darkness is a non-negotiable requirement for deep recovery.
Section 4. Building your sleep stack. All right, so now that we've engineered the physical environment, we've got to engineer our behavior, because falling asleep isn't a switch you can just flip. It requires actionable behavioral protocols to successfully transition your autonomic nervous system from a sympathetic, alert fight-or-flight state all the way down into a parasympathetic rest and digest state. So the crucial point here is that you need an easy-to-remember framework that systematically eliminates biological disruptors. The 10-3-2-1-0 rule is incredibly effective for this. Ready? 10 hours before bed, absolutely no more caffeine. 3 hours before, finish your last heady meal and any alcohol to protect your gut and that vital REM cycle. 2 hours before, stop all work. This is absolutely critical for cognitive performance because disengaging your attention networks is necessary to lower cortisol and enter that parasympathetic state. 1 hour before, no screens whatsoever, allowing that melatonin to naturally rise, and 0, the number of times you hit snooze in the morning.
Let's move on and see how this builds into an actionable nightly routine known as sleep stacking. Utilizing behavioral psychology and habit formation, top sleep scientists highly recommend a dedicated 20 to 30-minute biological wind-down. And you build this stack over a gentle 4-week progression. Week 1, just anchor your routine by dimming the lights right after brushing your teeth. Simple. Week 2, add a quick 5-minute stretch. Week 3, read a physical book, not a tablet, a real book. Week 4, incorporate some breathing exercises. By seamlessly stacking these small, simple behaviors, you create a completely automatic, stress-free off-ramp for your brain. And the final capstone to that behavioral stack is somatic modulation. A truly proven clinical protocol for this is the 4-7-8 breathing technique. By structuring your breath, inhaling deeply for 4 seconds, holding that breath for 7, and exhaling fully for 8, you physically stimulate the vagus nerve. Now, the vagus nerve acts as the biological superhighway for gut-brain communication. It literally commands the body to shut off stress and initiate digestion and rest. You are practically tricking your nervous system out of high-alert stress and straight into deep, restorative relaxation. Ultimately,
all of this careful engineering leads to a really profound revelation about healthy aging and longevity. Listen to this. A monumental prospective study of over 88,000 people revealed a profound, game-changing truth. Sleep regularity predicts mortality even more strongly than sleep duration. That's wild, right? Maintaining a highly consistent sleep schedule is the ultimate biological hack. In fact, a 30% lower mortality rate was observed in individuals with highly regular schedules. Consistency, it turns out, is the actual cellular bedrock of a longer, healthier life. We've seen how perfectly interconnected all these systems are. Your micromental health affects your sleep directly affects your brain's ability to clear toxins, that brain health allows for deep work, managing your work lower stress improves your gut health, and a healthy gut feeds right back into a beautifully steady restorative sleep cycle. It's the whole shebang. So I'll leave you with this provocative question to wrap up our explainer today. If your sleep directly dictates the quality, the longevity, and the absolute vitality of your waking reality, how will you engineer your rest tonight?